Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're doing Who Was Better. The topic for this Who Was Better? The Big Show and Mark Henry. Two guys that had similar careers, similar trajectories, main event in multiple pay-per-views, won multiple championships, and both made a huge impact on the sport of wrestling. Now, if you haven't seen any of my Who Was Better videos previously, I grade everybody on a 1 to 5 scale, on 8 different categories. At the end, we're going to tally up all the points they make. There is a chance for 5 bonus points, and we'll talk about that when we get there. Let's jump right into this with our first category, technical wrestling. Now, for technical wrestling, I'm going to start with the Big Show. I'm going to give Big Show a 2. And it's not that he was totally terrible. It's kind of the fault of him being the Big Show. He didn't have to wrestle a technical wrestling style. And early in his career, there was a little bit of that, but once he was fully into Big Show mode after he joined WWE, which is where he spent the biggest chunk of his career, he kind of didn't really do that often. I have to give him lower than average because I think the average wrestler on the roster during his time was a better technical wrestler than him. Now for Mark Henry, I'm going to give a 3. He had a little bit more of a technical wrestling side to his game, and he implored more of that. There was more, I don't want to say psychology behind what he did, but there was more, he just, to me, had more of a technical game than the Big Show. Now, with that being said, 3 is right in the middle, right about average. So again, I wouldn't put him up there with some of the best of his generation. He's just right about average. Now going to our next category, striking. For this, Big Show's getting a 5. Whether it be his chops, which were outstanding, his punches, his big boot when he would use that, all of his striking moves looked highly impactful and highly dangerous. He was able to make that into his art form, and that's where he excelled. Him just coming in and mauling you and beating you up with his sheer size, that's what made Show impressive. Now for Mark Henry, I'm giving Mark a 4. Mark was almost as impressive. Where Big Show gets a little bit above the Mark Henry is you think of those Big Show chops and how iconic they were. And I can't honestly say I think that Mark Henry has a striking maneuver that's anywhere near that impact. But his strikes did look good. His forearms looked fantastic. I think he had some of the best forearms of his time. But I digress. Going to our next category, how they perform as a heel. For the Big Show, I'm giving Big Show a 3. Now the reason for that, well, one of the main reasons is Big Show flip-flop back and forth between heel and face more times than politicians flip-flop on their subjects. Whenever he was a heel, though, I don't think he came across as an effective heel as he did as a face, because Big Show genuinely has an infectious personality, something that you want to cheer for. Someone that's funny, someone that's intelligent, someone that can make you smile, can make you think. I think it's shown through even when he was a heel. That's why I don't think he was as good as a heel. That's why I'm giving him a 3. Now for Mark Henry, Mark is getting a 4. It's kind of the antithesis. Now Mark Henry, behind the scenes, from everything I've ever heard, is one of the nicest people in the world. But on screen, he was an unrelenting monster. And he had some really good heel work. Now, the only reason he doesn't get a 5 is it took Mark Henry about 8 years to really get into his stride. Once he hit his stride, he was amazing. But before that, he kind of floundered for a while. So much so that both these guys were sent down to developmental at some point. And I didn't think Mark was ever going to make it until he actually did. And then I was like, wow, this is something totally different. I thought, let's say 2025, I'd be looking back and remembering Mark Henry as the goofy dude that was sexual chocolate in the Attitude Era. But to me, he outran that. He continued to improve, and he made himself into a credible heel. Now going from that, how they perform as a babyface. Big Show, I'm giving a 4 to. Now the only reason Show doesn't get a 5 is that flip-flopping. If he would have stayed a babyface for longer time periods and not switched every other couple months, I think he would have went down as one of the best baby faces of all time, similar to what Andre the Giant was. Like I said, he just had that charisma and that likability that made him a great babyface. He does get a knockoff because, I mean, honestly, even when he was a babyface, you were just waiting for the next turn. Now, for Mark Henry, I'm giving a 3. I don't think he was as effective as a babyface as he was as a heel. Kind of the antithesis of Big Show. And some of his babyface work I would consider more comedic, especially the aforementioned Attitude Era run. So for that, I'm just giving him a 3. Now, as far as promos, for the Big Show, I'm giving Big Show a 3. Big Show, for someone that has comedic timing and can talk well and is great on interviews, I don't think he ever cut a really great promo. I thought he did well when he was announcing on AEW, but for some reason, when I think back, I can't think of any standout Big Show promos. And the only thing I could think of is him and the Big Boss Man, which is pure comedy. I don't know, for me, he's just a 3. A lot of it has to do with his era. If you think about it, both these guys came up and went through the eras of Triple H, Steve Austin, The Undertaker, The Rock, John Cena, Batista, Randy Orton, CM Punk, Daniel Bryan. I mean, all of these super gifted people that all had better promo capabilities than the Big Show, in my opinion. I'll go from that. Mark Henry. I'm going to give Mark a 4. Mark mainly gets a 4 for one promo and one promo only, and that's his retirement one. He was really good at the tail end of his career, and that retirement promo is one of the great promos of all time. The Salmon Jacket promo, I think is what it's called. But he was fantastic. Once he hit that Hall of Pain stride, he was really good. He doesn't get the 5 again, much like I had to knock him off earlier because it took him a while to hit his stride, but once he hit it, he was great. Now going from that, presentation. For presentation, I'm giving both men a 5. I think they were both presented really well once they figured them out, whether it be Big Show and his singlet and his music. They both had fantastic music. Big Show with the "Well, it's the Big Show," and Mark Henry with the 3-6 Mafia song. Both were fantastic songs and both fit the characters so well. Mark Henry with the video coming behind him as he would enter. It just was so cool how they presented both of these guys. They both get top notches for that because they're instantly recognizable from the first beat of their music to when they leave their ring. That's why I think they both did great here. Now next up, charisma. For charisma, both guys are getting a 4. And again, when I do these, they're kind of graded on a curve. So you may see something where someone that you don't think is as charismatic as one of these guys might have got a higher score, but it's graded against their era. And I just mentioned their era. Their era had Steve Austin, it had The Undertaker, it had the NWO, it had DX, it had Mick Foley, it had John Cena, it had Booker T, it had all of these ultra charismatic wrestlers that kind of put them in that second tier. They weren't terrible, and they were better than most of the roster, but they weren't as good as, let's say, an Eddie Guerrero. I think they're very charismatic, and if they were around now, they'd probably be in the top tier there, or if they were around in the 80s, they would definitely be in the top tier. But as far as for their era, I have to give them both a 4. Now, last but not least, big game performance. This is your pay-per-view main event, your house show main event, your Monday Night Raw or SmackDown main event. For the Big Show's getting a 4. A lot of this has to do with where Big Show was on the card in most of his career. Most of Big Show's career, he was upper middle card to main event status, and he had chances to be in there with some of the best in the world, whether it be Jericho, whether it be Cena. I know we keep saying the same names over and over again, but with that, he was able to have some really great and memorable matches. Matches with guys like The Undertaker, I can remember like it was yesterday. Matches with Rey Mysterio, the massive man against the little guy. He was really good at that. That's why he gets a 4. Now for Mark Henry, Mark gets a 3. The difference to me as to why Mark would get a 3 and Big Show would get a 4, Mark didn't quite have the great matches that Big Show had. He had some really good ones. The one against Daniel Bryan, I think, was great. Matches against guys like Jericho and others I thought were awesome. But I just think that he doesn't quite have those, I'm going to remember this in 20 years type matches. And Big Show has a few more of those in him. So in my estimation, I got to give Mark a 3. Now let's total them up. For the Big Show's getting a 30. Now for Mark Henry also gets a 30. So with that being said, they're tied, but if you remember, I said there was a chance for 5 bonus points. Now how you get the 5 bonus points, every Wednesday on my posts page here on YouTube, there's going to be a poll. The poll specifically says, who do you think is better, Wrestler 1 or Wrestler 2? And whoever you guys vote for out there gets 5 bonus points. As you can see here, in a case like this, it determines who is the better wrestler. The winner, in a very tight race, I think it was 57% to 43% when I checked it. Well, it's the Big Show. And I know, you didn't need to hear that terrible version of the song twice in one video, but it fit. Big Show picked up the win, you guys voted for him, And I could see it. I get it. I think these guys are very evenly matched, hence why I think this is our closest poll that we've had yet. Usually it's a blowout in one direction, and sometimes that surprises me. But with this one, it was very close. Big Show did pick up the win. Overall, Big Show gets the nod for who was better. I will say this video is coming out a little bit late, so you may be seeing this after the poll is already up. I was busy the day that I normally record these videos, so I didn't get to record this, so it probably is going to come out a little bit before that, but like I said, chances are you may see this video first. Either way, go check out the post page here on my YouTube channel. That gives you the opportunity to vote in the poll, and you can vote for whoever you think is better, and whoever wins that one gets 5 bonus points next week. With all that being said, congratulations to the Big Show. My name is George Coles, and you've been watching Who Was Better.